Hey, what's going on? How you doing out there today? I'm gonna take this echo off my voice. There we go. How you doing out there today? This is your Uncle Steve off the echo, talking to you here live on Uncle Steve's Lounge. We appreciate you all having the the presence to come in here and join me on another edition of the Monday Minutia. We appreciate everyone joining us. A lot of stuff to talk about. We weren't here last week, so a lot of things that we need to catch up with when we start talking about the world of the Atlanta Falcons. Let's get right to it. We will catch up with you on the other side here on Uncle Steve's Lounge.
You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Gonna sit down, have a good time.
What is going on, everybody? How you doing out there today? This is your Uncle Steve here for the Monday Minutia. We are almost at the end of June, which means we are coming closer and closer to the 2026 regular season for our beloved Atlanta Falcons. I cannot wait. Nice little down period to kind of catch up. Not only catch up with news off the field, like Kyle Pitts getting extended. We can talk about that as well. But a lot of things going on in sports, period. The Atlanta Braves, going a little weird, but we're at the halfway point of the season. They got 3 wild cards. I'm not really that concerned about the Atlanta Braves. We'll be fine. The Atlanta Dream, go to the West Coast. Not a great trip. Lost 2 to Golden State, but Golden State's beating everybody except Vegas these days. They just beat the Liberty, and they beat us 2 games in a row. But the Dream are still number 1 in the East, looking like one of the top teams there. The Atlanta Falcons, again, talking about news off the field. Kyle Pitts signs his 3-year extension. Not really a huge shot. I know a lot of people still waiting to see a little bit more from Kyle Pitts, but I say, you know what? Let's see what happens. I think he's still an asset to have on the team. Also, just talking about just the vibe in the city as far as the World Cup is concerned, as everyone had an opportunity to go out uh, on the town and seeing what's going on. I had one day where I kind of ran into it on the way to work, and it was uh, pretty heavy traffic out there, and a lot of people loving their soccer these days. So I'm all for it. We're down to the knockout round, so we'll see how that is going to end up turning out. I did just big upset just a few minutes ago. Germany lost to Paraguay, um, so Germany is out, which they were probably one of the better teams. So uh, then Brazil had to sneak away from Japan a little earlier. Japan almost had them on the rope, so good for them. Just a lot of good stuff coming on. The Americans play on Wednesday, Bosnia Herzegovina. I think that's what they play. So just sports all over the place. So we're going to be talking about anything you want to talk about. You can ask questions. One of the things that I did put down here for the title of this one, because I was just thinking about it. You know, everybody talks about the stars. Everybody talks about Julio for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, the Braves, Freddie Freeman, Chipper Jones, all the pitchers, the Glavin Smokes, Maddox, things like that. But who are the underrated sports figures here in Atlanta? And not so much that, you know, they aren't known. So underrated doesn't necessarily mean they're not a starter and all of that. What it could mean is people that don't get the accolades that you hear all the time with Matt, that you hear all the time with Julio, that you hear from the Braves with Freddie Freeman and Chipper Jones and those pitchers and stuff like that. So I just and you can take it to the extent of not only just baseball and football and stuff. You can go further than that if you like to. But I just got a couple of names, and I'm sure a lot of you would probably have some other names added to the list. For me, Atlanta Braves, one of the names that I always think about that always kind of gets lost in the shuffle during those really good Atlanta Braves years, especially near the beginning, was Javi Lopez. Javi Lopez was um, Greg Maddis didn't like pitching to him, but other than that, he was a very solid player for the Braves. Could pretty much guarantee you 25 to 30 home runs all the time, and pretty consistent. I know he had a little bit of drama there. I think some people accused him of possibly juicing or whatever, but he still was a very solid player. And then when you start talking about those teams and the core of those teams of the 90s that were just running the gamut over folks, Javi Lopez gets lost in the shuffle when you start talking about it. I know a lot of people might be a little aged with this one for the Atlanta Hawks. And again, not a superstar, but when I start thinking about, I kind of bring it up to the day of needs that we have on the team. I always think about that solid big man in the middle. And during the 80s, the Mike Fratello years and those runs, I just remember how good it was to always look back and see Tree Rollins sitting in the middle anchored. Now, Tree wasn't going to give you 15 to 20, but Tree would always be in there to, put up a defensive front for those that thought they were just going to come right through the middle. And he did. He was here for about a decade, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I know he was always amongst the leaders in defensive players. Matter of fact, I think he came close to winning Defensive Player of the Year one year, if memory serves me correct. But in the Atlanta Hawks history, which again, championship list and never been to the finals, he was a big part of what they were doing in those really good years. And in the Atlanta Falcons, there are really so many that I can name. I was talking about Todd McClure the other day, steadying that offensive line prior to Alex Mack coming during the Super Bowl year to do that. But I always think about what Terrence Mathis was, especially during that Super Bowl run when, I mean, we really didn't have anybody that, as far as a wide receiver was concerned. I mean, we had people, but they weren't. I- Terrence Mathis was a go-to guy and somebody that, everybody talks about Jamal Anderson. Believe it or not, they talk about Chris Chandler enough. The defense was Ray Boo was back there in the back of the defense doing his thing, but not enough to me was talked about Terrence Mathis and what he was a steadying force from the wide receiver standpoint for the Atlanta Falcons. And I think he's just somebody that doesn't get his due. So if you have anybody underrated in Atlanta history, you can go to University of Georgia, you can go Georgia Tech, you can go anywhere you want to. Also, again, this is like a potpourri of topics today. So I'm just setting it up. Whatever y'all put on there, we're going to talk about. So don't feel like there's not a topic, sports topic, we won't touch. So just mention whatever you do. The Atlanta Braves, I know a lot of people, again, kind of worried about what's going on. I think they just hit game 82, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the frustrating part about baseball sometimes. You could be the hottest team in the world at the beginning of the year, but then 150 games later, injuries later, just declining later, people just give up way too soon. I mean, people are pushing the panic button. The Braves might lose 10 in a row right now, and they can still come back, make the wild card, and make a run in the playoffs. I mean, that seems to be the formula for a lot of the teams over the last couple of years. Obviously, winning the division for the Braves in recent years hasn't been enough. So I'm not ready to push the panic button yet. I know they still got a couple of people out. I know Acuna is still nursing that hamstring. Got a couple of pitchers getting ready to. I think Smith Sharper is getting ready to make a rehab visit, and Waltrip is warming up, and he should be back in the rotation pretty soon. I'm just not with 80 something games left. I can't panic on June 29th for baseball. I can't do it. Football is different. You got 16 games, 8 games. Yeah, you only got 1 or 2 games to kind of get it right. So I'm just not ready to push the panic button yet. But let me hear what you think. If you think the Braves need to make moves, make trades, I don't mind them making a trade. I'd get another frontline starter to go along with Chris Sale would be great. I think our bullpen is actually pretty good. Once everybody gets healthy. Iglesias still scares the mess out. Come back in time to make that run that we usually make in September. That's all I really care about. So do that. Then the Hawks news with the Hawks, of course, obviously the draft last week. Flemings being the star guy. I know we picked the other guy at the 23rd pick, but everybody's talking about Flemings maybe making that great, a better backcourt to help out our buddy Jalen Johnson. However, today the Hawks declined Jonathan Kuminga's option today, which to me tells me the Hawks are going fishing for free agency, which I believe starts either tomorrow or Wednesday. That's what that alerts me to. I think the Hawks are going to try. Yep, we drafted the guy in the second round, but I'm just not convinced that after the noise we made last year and that what is it? What they call it? The participation trophy of beating the Knicks 2 times and being the only team to beat them 2 times that I keep hearing every fan lean on to. I think the Hawks are bound to try to make a move. Look, congratulations to New York. Great run. I think it was awesome. I just not here to. It wasn't like the OKC win last year. I think when OKC won that championship, it was almost like, uh-oh, these guys are going to be around a little bit. I like what the Knicks did at the end of the year. No disrespect, no shame, no whatever to them. But I'm not sure if that wasn't just they got scorching hot at the right time. I'm not sure if that's what it was. So with the Hawks in the East, East is up for grabs this year. So we'll see. And then last, if you want to talk about it, it's fine. If not, I'm cool. You know, the whole Caitlin Clark drama going on. Alyssa Thomas with the I don't think in her heart of hearts she said I was gonna put my fist to her throat and try to whatever. But there was during that press conference that Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark's coach, she was saying something about Caitlin being a generational talent and almost made the thought of, oh, you got to protect her. I love the fact that the Phoenix Mercury coach, Hibbets, I think his name is, came back and like, hey, I would hope that if that was a foul and they saw it, whether they were generational or number 11 off the bench, that you would still call the same play. We all know subconsciously that might not happen, but in a case like that, it shouldn't matter. Now, Caitlin, give her all the credit due. It's not me trying to take anything away from her. Caitlin Clark, the folks are living off what she brought to the league. And I'm talking about all of the attention that she brought to the league. That helped renegotiate things. That helped get WNBA players more into the regular flow of sports. All of that, no doubt. But Caitlin a little bratty too. I see Caitlin waving her arms and you know, I heard a call, saw the little thing when she called the ref a B. And not to say any other athletes don't do it, but I'm also like, okay, let's not act like this is a case of she is just untouchable. That's not a cool narrative. She does wrong, she should get the same thing. Now, Alyssa, if you ask me for real, I really do think she probably should have got a flagrant foul for that. Whether she did it on purpose or not, but she did put her fist near her neck. No doubt. But all these people acting like, oh my goodness, you know, cover the baby with a super soft blanket. Yeah, y'all can miss me with that. Caitlin is gonna be fine. She'll be okay. She doesn't need anybody protecting her. She's fine. So all that stuff, man, and of course we usually center around the Falcons. So please, if you want to talk about that, let me know. I am here. If you all are coming in, whether you're coming in for the first time or not, we appreciate you. Hit the like button for your aunt. Whether you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate people watching on Facebook and also those who are watching on the Twitter. We appreciate everyone coming in here again. Dead time of the year. I get it. You get it. We'll just try to make some conversation out of something. We'll see what's going on as far as that's concerned. My buddy in the house, David Starks, is in here kicking us off, man. What is going on, my brother? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. What is going on, my friend? Another friend of the show, Matt Town Dirty, is in here as well. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. My friend, Let Us Pray is in here. What is going on, brother? Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to my brother, man. He has been coming strong with his videos and his streams on there on the West Coast. He said, "God bless you, Valkyries." Look, man, look, I can't co-sign. I can't co-sign on that, man. Sorry. I can't do it for you. The Valkyries are a good team, though. They're a good team. And Gabby Williams stepping her game up. I watched them beat the Liberty, really beat down the Liberty. Uh, I think when push comes to shove, uh, right now the team's strengths look to be in the West, where you're talking about the Aces, the Valkyries, and the Minnesota Lynx, who are leading the league right now with the amazing Olivia Miles doing her thing while Nafisa heals up. But I still think there's just a lot of season left. I like what the Valkyries did. They took us to the woodshed as far as the dream concerned. But by the end of the season, I'm gonna tell you, I still like our lineup. And remember, we're getting Brianna Jones back probably in another month or so. So when she comes back, that's just another inside presence, and she's really good inside. Angel has been doing her job. Ryan Howard finally looked like she's kind of breaking out a little bit and letting everybody know what's going on. I felt like sometimes when Alicia came in, she ceded that spot to her very quickly. And I say that not in a like adversarial way, not that they're arguing about it. I think Ryan just trying to be very unselfish. But I think this year, I like the fact that she's looking for her shot. She's doing her thing, and that's going to pay dividends for us, hopefully in the playoffs this next coming. David Stark says, "How about David Justice, the home run that gave us our first world championship in any sport?" I can absolutely go with David Justice as an underrated part. When you think about that heart of the team, that outfield of Justice, and it's funny because it was Justice Gant. Justice Gant. Who was the other person at the time that was in the outfield? But then, of course, it was Grissom Justice out there by the end, the team that won the championship. Yeah, I can see David Justice. That's actually a really good call there as far as underrated person in Atlanta sports. I can live with that. I can live with that. I had a chance. I had an opportunity to meet David Justice. I told the story before. New Year's Eve back in 90. It was either 93 or 94. I think, was it right before the strike season or was it during the strike season that they would negotiate? But I know he was. I think that was right when he had first married Holly Berry at that time. Good dude, real good dude. 3:30 in the house. What's going on? 3:30. How you doing, my friend? He said, "What's up? Like the specs, man." Let me tell you something. Thank you. First, thank you. I like the specs too, but I'm gonna tell you what happened to my other glasses. I usually I have some black rim glasses that I actually like better. And I'm not gonna mention the place where I bought them because I'm slightly mad at them. I did turn them in today. But man, I hadn't had these glasses more than maybe, let's see, late March, early April. Man, the stuff started coming apart. The screws came apart and popped out on me for no reason. And I said, well, it might just be that side. Next thing I know, this side popped out. I said, man. So I this weekend, the second side actually popped out Saturday. So I always get 2 pair of glasses just in case something like this happens. So that's what happened. But thank you for the compliment. But I love my little black glasses too. But these are I make them try to pop out a little bit. David says Algie Crumpler, with little development Vic had as a quarterback, he helped it. Yeah, and You can't say Michael Vick without saying Algie Crumpler. Algie Crumpler was absolutely a very pivotal part of the Vick years and was the go-to guy during that time. Absolutely. I didn't even think of, and that's the great thing about asking you all these questions, because these are people that you don't think about. I can sit a lot of times when I start thinking about things that I want to talk about during the day or during the show. I like to kind of organically just write them down, because I want to hear what people say first, so I can say, let me see what people thinking about that. But Algie Crumpler is a very good answer from there. Scott Glover's in the house. What's up, Scott? How you feeling, brother? He said, I think Brian Finneran was underrated. Yeah, he was another Vic guy as well, and then early Matt. I like Finneran. Finneran reminded me of like kind of that third receiver that you say, if the other two are covered, I'll get you. Obviously not in size and stature, but he's kind of like the Taylor Gabriel when Julio and Sanu were doing their thing. He was kind of that guy where he mess around and catch balls, and then of course his length, his height at least, helped them out with some of those taller, might big throws in the day. So I give Ben a lot of credit during that. That's a good call. Dave said, I'm not so much worried about the Braves pitching as I am about the offense that is just going to sleep. That's a very good point. The offense is definitely, and really you can't even attribute all of that to Acuna, because remember, they were doing that when Acuna was out a couple of times. So it's not like all of a sudden Acuna's gone and then the offense left. They were doing a lot of that stuff. Michael Harris was on fire. Matt Olson was on fire. What I'm hoping for, Dave, is this just one of those cycle things where early everybody just got their bat off. Everybody was, between Drake, between Matt, between everybody basically except Austin Riley has been hitting, and then all of a sudden, as a collective, it just went down. Now, Kim at shortstop, I'm almost at a point where I would say, man, I'm gonna try to see if somebody wants to get him, because I'd grab one of them other guys off the bench and put them in his slot, because he has been straight garbage. And I thought he was gonna be an asset, but and then he making errors too on top of that, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, at least play a solid shortstop. Then I see you fumbling the ball over. Like that's what never bothered me when Rafael Furcal, for those of you who remember him, used to play shortstop. I didn't care if he wasn't hitting 300, because guess what? He'd make up for it on his defense. But yeah, Kim is he might have to get up out of here. Dave also says now Alyssa Thomas should have got a flagrant too, but Caitlin Clark starts stuff as well. Those women do not care. You better be able to take it. And that's a lot of folks. I think if you start looking, there was a lot of drama earlier when, like when I say earlier, like her first couple of years, I remember the Kennedy Carter incident where she just, bumped her down for no reason, and Angel Reese, who was the enemy then, was over there kind of ribbing her on and stuff like that. And yeah, I can understand that. And, I mean, jealousy happens in all walks of life. So you can imagine, even in sports, you think about some of these young ladies who came out of school, and Kennedy Carter was a high draft pick for us. It wasn't like she was a 12th round. I think she was, what was she, 2, 3, or 4? She was top 5. So it wasn't like she was a scrub coming out. And she just, she probably had to, do some USA to kind of get her back into the flow of things. But these young ladies are probably a little envious. I would be too. If I'm honest, Caitlin came in and took the world by storm. Asia Wilson's been doing it for years. Nobody said a word. Sabrina, was I'm trying to pronounce her name. You know what I'm talking about, for the Liberty. She came in and was dueling Steph Curry for, 3-point. Nobody was giving her the overall thing like they were giving Caitlin. And again, that's not hate for her. So, the women, nobody's telling them to give her a check. But let's not act like they wouldn't be paid if the attention didn't come with her. But I think now we're at a point where 2 years in, now we can see the Alyssa Thomas, who is awesome, by the way. Overall, probably one of the top 5 or 6 players in the league. Asia Wilson's get her love. Nafisa Colliers can get their love. Brianna Stewart, who does nothing but win 4 straight championships at UConn, all these years later, still doesn't get the love that Caitlin Clark gets. So I could understand. But that being said, yeah, she got a little brat at her too. But maybe some of these ladies will get that right. David said another guy I forgot about was Steve Smith. I was actually gonna put Steve Smith on that list before Tree Rollins. He was very good for the Hawks when he was here. He was coming from Miami, I believe, when he came here. Steve Smith was very solid when he was playing for the Hawks. He's definitely somebody that I would look at and say, yeah, he was pretty solid. Solid. That's right. ATL Skate Man in the house. What's going on, sir? Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Again, if y'all coming in, please, we hope you enjoyed the stream and also hit the like button for us. Those of you who haven't had a chance to subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or watch it on X. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. David says Otis Nixon. And I'm trying to think, was Otis, let me see. Because did Grissom only play for us 1 year? Or not? That maybe that's who I'm missing there. For some reason, I thought Grissom was here a little bit longer. Island Mike is in the house. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us, as usual, in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Again, we are ready. Look, Mike will be one of the main ones, but when this season kicks off, I know he's going to be. We have so much time to talk about the quarterback battle, which I know a lot of people have already offered shirts and T-shirts, has already chosen Tua off T-shirts and shorts. And then you got some people that are just out of their mind. Jack Strand is a generational talent. I have no idea where the Jack Strand Love Association came from. There was not a person, there was not a soul talking about the greatness and the ability of Jack Strand prior to the draft. Now, all of a sudden, Jack Strand is the greatest developmental guy ever. We're going to keep him on the team, and he's going to eventually be. Now, not saying you don't keep him on the team. Honestly, I wouldn't mind developing a guy before Trevor Siemian, especially if you're going to have the Tua Penix back and forth. Quite honestly, if you don't have either one of them, the season is probably gone anyway. I wouldn't mind keeping them like that, but I was like, calm down. Calm down. Y'all see a picture with T-shirts and shorts, and we're losing our mind. Of course the pass looked good. Nobody was touching them. Of course the speed looked great from the wide receiver. Nobody can touch them. Of course, it looks like he burned AJ Terrell, Zachariah Branch. Of course it does. Nobody's putting a rush on Tua when he threw the ball. So I just I'm being slightly facetious, but then I'm not because we really need to calm that down. Scott Glover said, I was at the game when they placed the Dream at home. Caitlin was the one fouling hard. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, she and it's not like I don't like that she plays with a little edge. That's fine. But just know, almost like LeBron, almost like Jordan, you're a marked person. You're a marked person. And I say LeBron and Jordan, not suggesting Caitlin Clark is the best player in the league, but you're the most polarizing player in the league. So you do have kind of a little bit of an X on you. So I get it. I get it. David Stark says, the crime dog Fred McGriff pencil in 30 home runs, 100 RBIs at first. And I hate the fact that McGriff, we didn't keep him around. He was super solid. Dude was totally solid. And we didn't let him stick around. That's crazy to me. But what's going on, man? How you feeling today? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming in here into Uncle Steve's Lounge, brother. We hadn't seen you in a minute. I'm sure you're gonna be poking your head up during this football season. So, you know what? I see the birthday boy is in the house. That is our brother John Harris. Everybody send a happy birthday shout out to my man doing his thing. And I know he has some feeling about those Hawks coming in. He said, once again, here we are, once again, being the warm up, get right team, the team that catapults other teams to championships. Why is it always us? That is a very good question. I have no idea why. I have no idea why that always happens like that. I will say this. Whether you're the Hawks, Falcons, Braves, at some point, this community, this sports community, is gonna be rewarded. And I know the Braves did their best a couple of years ago. Don't get me wrong. And I appreciate that. That was good. But man, I saw the New York Knicks win that championship, and man, I must admit, I was salty. I was salty about that. Anytime I see it, and last year Carolina gets back to the playoffs, they've been waiting as long as I get salty. That's why I think this organization, we start talking about the Falcons, I think there is a mission going on right now. I think most of everybody is stuck on who their favorite is, Penix or Tua, when in actuality, I think the Falcons are like, I don't care who's the best. Who's the best? Throw whoever's going to be the best out there. That's what you got to do. Willie Doc is in the house, man. What is up, my friend? How you doing? He said, blessed is John and happy birthday to him. And brother, I appreciate you as always. Thank you for always showing up in the chat for us. We appreciate you. David Starks. He gives his happy birthday. My brother Yuri is in the house. What is going on, man? He has been a traveling man. I know he was at the draft last week representing Atlanta as he always does. And when I say he represents Atlanta, I think I've seen him at Falcons, Hawks, Dream. Only place I haven't seen him is at a baseball game. So, I mean, dude, when you start talking about ride or dies, like that's your guy right there. Yuri is do your thing, brother. Keep doing your thing as always. Got he said catch it at truest too. Yeah. Don't worry. And like I say, and I'm gonna tell you, I want to go to Truist a lot more. Uh, quite honestly, that trip is a little bit more of a hike. Sometimes, depending on what my feel is, I do plan on probably trying to go. Maybe me and the wife try to go out there before the season ends and catch it out there. But yeah, man, yeah, I know. I see you. Oh, yeah, I see you out there represent. You represented all of them. So, hockey team come, you're gonna be there too. Most definitely. Scott wishing a happy birthday to my brother JR doing his thing out here as well. So again, I know for some of you who've come in late, so what we're talking about today and what we put out here was underrated players in Atlanta sports history. We've heard some names. I mentioned Javi Lopez from the Braves. Dave mentioned David Justice, Fred McGriff, Falcons. I think it was Scott mentioned. I think Scott, did Scott say Brian Finneran? So people are mentioning some good folks. I haven't heard any Hawks come up. I put Tree Rollins down for the Hawks, but I'm sorry, Dave did say Steve Smith. But yeah, man, just some players from the past that may not get their due, but when you bring up the name and you say, "Oh yeah," and you know, two guys that were technically stars to me in Atlanta, Mike Ken and Jeff Van Note, never get their due. There was a time. That's why the William Andrews of the world, the Leon Canes of the world, the Gerald Riggs of the world were able to get as many yards as you were. Now the pass blocking might have been a different story. But as far as run blocking mostly was concerned, like those guys made holes for everybody. So when you start thinking about underrated players in the league, what y'all thinking about? And again, the Hawks declined the option on Kuminga. To me, that signals I think we're going big fish hunting. I think we're gonna go try to get the big one. Yuri says Paul Millsap. That's actually a very good call. Paul Millsap, 4-time All-Star in 4 seasons with the team. And really, when Millsap came over, you know, he was kind of like, you know, like the middling superstar, but didn't get to shine until he came to the Hawks and obviously took us to that next level. Took us to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time on the 60-win team. Great job he did with that. Got our first super chat in the house. My brother Willie Doc, man, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much again for always supporting the channel on here. He said underrated Atlanta sports figures. Jamal Crawford from the Hawks. That's a good one. Terry Pendleton from the Braves. Falcons, Jarius Norwood. Oh, man, Jarius Norwood. That's a name you did good. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for always supporting the channel, man. Let me see what we got on here.
Let's dance. Let's shout. A super chatter with Uncle Steve. Let's dance. Let's shout. Super chatter with Uncle Steve. Let's dance. Let's shout. Super chatter with Uncle Steve. Let's dance. Let's shout. Get it over.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for always supporting the channel, man. I really appreciate that. Jamal Crawford, 100% was one of those guys that was just somebody that you don't think about in the history, but when he was here, he was pretty solid. Terry Pendleton, I like Terry Pendleton. I'm the underrated part for me. Not because he wasn't slightly underrated, but when he won the MVP, to me, that kind of puts him a little over the underrated part, but I get what you're saying in the history. And then the sad thing was Terry Pendleton, for people that keep forgetting, Terry Pendleton didn't play on that 95 championship. Terry Pendleton left and then came back. Came back the next year. He was not on that team. So that's that's something to think about. Dave says we have a new coaching staff, new wide receiver room, new pieces on defense, and a quarterback battle. Let's at least wait for the first week of camp before we go crazy. Yeah, and again, I don't mind people with exuberance and having passion for the team. I don't mind that part at all. But sometimes let's not get crazy, because I hear this all the time. Jack Strand is a generational talent. And I'm saying to myself, there is a reason why you didn't get drafted. And not saying I'm not rooting for the young man. I want to make sure that's clear. I'm not saying I'm not rooting for him. I'm just saying, fans, we grab on to folks. We grab on to folks, and then we expect them to be better than what they were drafted at.
I love that, sir.
And then we get mad when it doesn't turn out that way, or they get mad at people like myself who call it out. Yuri says Jonathan Babineau. That's actually a really good one. Babineau was very solid for us for a good little minute too. Babineau was actually that's a good call right there. That's the player that I'm talking about. I don't think Babineau ever was a Pro Bowler or anything like that, but super solid in the middle and just was always there. Yeah, that's actually a really good call on Jonathan Babineau, being an underrated player for the Atlanta Falcons. When you think about that, not bad at all. I also was thinking about when they start talking about the Falcons and the Kyle Pitts move. I haven't heard anybody, because I wasn't able to come on last week. Tell me what you all think about the Kyle Pitts move. I'm gonna tell you about Willie Dot says Warrick Dunn. Warrick Dunn might be a really good example of that, because I'm gonna tell you, Warrick Dunn was overshadowed by the long shadow cast from Michael Vick. Warrick Dunn was a very, very good player for us during that time, but you wouldn't know it. Mike Vick was so much demand during that time that you really didn't realize. When we pulled Warrick Dunn in here, he solidified that backfield. Remember the DVD thing? The Dunn, Vick, Duckett. Dunn was a beast. He was everything that Devonta Freeman did a few years later. He was the man. Antonio James is in the house. What's going on, brother? How you doing, man? Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us on Uncle Steve's Lounge again. And those of you who just came in, please hit the like button for your Unc. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thank you. He says, what's up, Unc? Terrence Mathis was pretty good his year with the Falcons. It's funny, Antonio, I absolutely, that was the name. If you look on the banner I had, that's the name I actually chose earlier that said he was the most underrated guy. So great minds think alike. I say the same thing. I think he was definitely somebody who was a good, very good, and more importantly, an underrated player for us when you start talking about the Falcons. Yuri said, I wish Dunn would get in the Hall of Fame. It's probably going to be hard for him too, because just looking at his numbers right quick. Warrick Dunn. Since Yuri brought it up, let's let's take a quick look at uh at Warwick Dunn. I'm not sure this is gonna get him Hall of Fame. Uh Probably not, unfortunately. Right at 10,000 yards rushing. Again, he had a lot of yards receiving as well. Uh, no, I mean, you know, it's gonna be tough. It's definitely gonna be tough for him to get that. I think he does have a chip, so that kind of helps him. But yeah, that's gonna be tough as a running back. You're probably gonna have more than these days. 10,000 is probably not gonna be good enough to do it. But, you know, hey, still a great player. No big deal. Da 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 da. Da. Real Money Man is in the house. What's going on? How you doing? Good to have you here. He said, I'm in Uncle Steve's house. Oh man, go sit down. He know the whole lyrics. Good. That's all right, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for putting that down here, man. He said, glad you're live, OG Uncle Steve. Needed some ATL Falcons content. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, man. There's a lot of good folks out there to go to. So, hey, we got a lot of folks out there, but I appreciate you personally taking the time, not only to know the lyrics, but to taking the time to share those words with me, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Willie Doc says, Pitts deal, I signals that Falcons feel this roster is not far from competing for the playoffs. I agree. I do feel like this might be. So I'm going to tell you this, Willie. I was not a fan of the drafting him at number 4. I think I'm at a point where I can separate the fact that people throw the bust thing out there, which is ridiculous. He wasn't a bust. He wasn't drafted properly. Arthur Smith, I don't know why they thought he was worth the number 4 overall pick, but I don't know. That's a head scratcher. I know in the scheme of things, now that we know that it sounded like Julio probably wasn't going to play for us, and they knew that prior to the season, I would have almost got Jamar Chase, who went one step later at number 5. If you knew, and according to the little podcast with the receiver guys, it sounded like Julio knew he wasn't going to be here. So instead of drafting one of the better wide receivers, you went and got a tight end. That was just interesting. They said the Pitts extension makes sense. The guaranteed money says it's only a 2-year deal, that if it works, he gets another extension and will only be 28. If it doesn't, we can get out of it with little damage. I'm all down for getting out with little damage. I'm all down with that. Most definitely. Scott Glover says Brent Grimes. Brent Grimes absolutely goes on that list. He definitely held down that corner spot for a good little bit of time, and really, I mean, he was pretty solid. He's actually solid when he left Atlanta. So he was really good. Real Money Man says Brent Grimes was very underrated. I need a Falcons Grimes jersey. Yeah, that would be good to get one of that. To get a vintage Grimes jersey, that'd be pretty good. Grimes was really good when he was here. Super athletic and Johnny on the spot. 100%. I agree. Antoine in the house. What's going on, my friend? How you doing, sir? He said Algie Crumpler. Absolutely. Algie was mentioned a little earlier. He was the lifeline for Brother Vic when he needed it. I do like the fact that um, we really didn't have that receiver. Remember we went out and drafted, not drafted. We traded for Peerless Price out of Buffalo, and we thought that was going to answer our receiver questions, and it didn't. Crumpler, I mean, don't get me wrong. Peerless had one or two good. Well, he had one good year, I think, but he was never really that guy for us. Crumpler was always the receiver. Yuri says Pro Bowl seasons in 7 years for Algie in Atlanta. Absolutely, he was pretty good. He was pretty good. Willie Dot says Mike Bibby provided some stability prior to Jeff T. Now, here's my only thing, and there's nothing incorrect what you said about him providing the stability. Here's my problem with the Mike Bibby thing. Mike Bibby played, and I'm trying to remember originally, was he acquired through I can't remember whether he was acquired, but he played 1 year with us first before they signed him to, I think it was at that time, a huge contract, 3 years, $30 million at that time. That was the same year that we could have drafted Chris Paul. And you know who we ended up drafting? Marvin Williams. And that's the only reason, though you're right about maybe a little underrated, I really wanted to draft Chris Paul that year. And that was just crazy to me that we drafted a bench player because he was on the bench on that North Carolina national championship team. We drafted a bench player before. And so given Mike Bibby's problem, because he was solid. I'm not saying he was trash. He was solid. But boy, Chris Paul wanted to come to him. Hey, Georgia Clay Dre in the house. What's going on, my friend? How you doing today? He said, "What's up? What's the topic? We talking about underrated players in Atlanta sports history, my friend. As you see, we were talking about. He was talking about Mike Bibby. We've heard names like Algie Crumpler, Javi Lopez, David Justice, Brian Finneran, names that not necessarily star players for Atlanta, but players that you say, oh, you know what? He was pretty solid. I actually put on there earlier, and again, some of my older school guys might not remember Tree Rollins and what he meant for the Hawks organization back then. He was a solid force in the middle. And when I say solid force, I'm not telling you he was scoring 20 points in the paint, but he was the one that was disrupting everything. He used to lead the league in blocks sometimes, and he was really solid about it. Willie Doc says, don't remind me about Marvin Williams. To this day, and that's why no matter what draft it is, whether it's an NFL draft, NBA draft, when I hear potential, this is the draft that bothered me the most. Because every single person kept talking about Marvin Williams' potential. And I'm going to, just to show that I'm not, above being, I'm going to look up Marvin Williams right quick. Marvin Williams was the number 2 pick for the Atlanta Hawks. And I mean, when you talk about somebody who, as a number 2 pick, it's almost the same thing with Kyle Pittman. There we go. All right, so let's share this right quick with the screen. This really bothered me when Stop screen first. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, y'all. Moving too slow. Here we go. Marvin Williams. Marvin Williams. A little bit bigger. Marvin Williams. Here he is. The great hope of Atlanta. Marvin Williams during Atlanta, he averaged 8.5, 13-1, 14-8, 13-9, 10-1, 10-4. Again, number 2 overall pick. Sounds kind of familiar with somebody who got drafted as number 1 pick. Now, the difference is in the draft with Zachariah Ricochet, I'm going to give a little bit of credit because that was just an awful draft. When I go to the draft with Marvin Williams, I'm not saying it was a great draft, but if you look at these names on this list, I wouldn't have mind taking Andrew Bogut. Deron Williams was next. Deron Williams was a very solid player. Chris Paul was a solid player. I know Charlie Villanueva was more of a extra piece. So, I mean, I though that was kind of a little bit of a trashy draft, I would have taken anybody except Marvin Williams. That was just great. Willie Doss said Marvin Williams, the king of mid. I'll agree with that. Real Money Man says Algie Crumpler was one of the best bets Atlanta Falcons ever had. He was the real deal. Absolutely. He was a big dude, too. Algie was big boy. So big target for Mike. And I wish if Mike had stuck around, it would have been crazy. Real Money says, Money Man says, and I'm not dissing Mike Vick at all, but I would have loved to see what Matt Ryan would have done with a town. Oh, 100%. Matter of fact, I'll even bet you that's probably the reason they went out and got Tony G, because they realized Mike Vick needed a outlet. So Algie Crumpler fit. When Matt Ryan came into the league, he needed that outlet. Let's go get Tony G. And our fortunes changed with us as far as the Falcons were concerned. So yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Dre says for the Falcons, Patrick Kearney. That's excellent call. Excellent call. Patrick Kearney was super solid with the Falcons. I hate that we got rid of him because I think he ended up going to Seattle, right? After that. But I know he was going to get big money. But yeah, we should have never let Patrick Kearney leave. That was the Falcons were, we should have signed him. Most definitely. Was that the year after didn't we mess around? Did we get Jamal Anderson after that? Not Dirty Bird Jamal Anderson, but young boy Louisville. I'm trying to remember. Antonio James says we keep waiting on that breakout season for Marvin Williams and Cam Reddish too. Now Cam Reddish, at least they learned their lesson then. Cam didn't hang around that long. We kept Marvin about 5-6 years waiting for that potential to come out, for that upside. So that's why I say when I keep hearing those things, I keep hearing upside, I keep hearing, that bothered. Willie talk. Kent Bazemore. Only thing Kent Bazemore was good for was being Steph Curry's friend. Kent Bazemore was yeah, he was all right. He what you say earlier? He was all right. Oh man, that's a good one. Dre says, yeah, Jamal Anderson. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I know that didn't work out. Now, I do remember when he was drafted, he was super young. I think he was 19 because he went into college 17. And when he got drafted, he wasn't even 20 years old yet. And he just never really panned out. And I know he ended up going to the Colts, but he never really never really ended up being that guy. And I kind of hate that because that was another wasted. That was a top 10 pick. And that didn't pan out. So I hope, I hope that gets everybody off the potential thing and get somebody who really can do the job as far as that's concerned. So we'll hope the Falcons, Braves, and the Hawks get it right the next time when they do that. But listen, speaking of getting right, I tell y'all what, I am so happy I was able to share the stream with y'all. Thank you so much for joining your Unc today in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We're gonna come back. And I know we waiting on football. It's right around the corner. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it right. Soon as the football season comes, Unc gonna be all over it. We're gonna get everybody up to date. We're gonna do some more streams with the panels going on during the season, going into the year. I just appreciate everyone coming in. Y'all make sure y'all do me a favor. Share the video out. Tell your friends about Uncle Steve's Lounge. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get my website come up. I finally got my domain. So I'm hoping to get a website so you can go to that. And hopefully we can get some trivia and some other things on there to get everybody juiced up going into this 2026. Until then, I appreciate you all. Have a blessed night. Thank you for joining us here in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Everyone have a great evening.
You're in Uncle Steve's Lounge.